the circle of influence, because she realized that indeed last year, or in general when we started the sessions, that I really focused on the things which are not in my control, and I take them as it is my influence, but indeed it's not. So she said that I need to, like, we discussed that I need to get rid of the mentality and think that there's like you and there's outside world, and what's happening in the outside world, you cannot really do anything. You can only work on yourself and your abilities. You have to trust in them, and then you have to, like, basically make your own path as you want. And then I was like, that's all right, because I realized that last year especially I was very desperate in general, because I was unemployed, and then I got a shitty job in Huawei, and then it was acts of desperation, and she said, I wish that this year we can focus on you not to be so desperate, and then that your career supports your personal life, not vice versa, that you know that the career is like...
Career is the reason of you being happy or unhappy.
So I mentioned to her the circle you showed me, and she was like, oh, that's actually very interesting. She even said she's gonna also read more deeper, because in psychology it's also very important to see how the emotions are affected, because we both realized that because I'm trying to influence so many different things outside, for example the market or like the jobs itself, that I get so much stress and anxiety unnecessary, and then it causes the whole hassle, you know.
So that's really interesting. So you did a lot with it, like it's been a lot on your mind.
It was, because I started making, like,
well, it's quite a simple
it's a simple thing but effective. It actually it puts you in the perspective of, okay, how much can I control my choices? And I was like sitting and thinking, when I made the New Year's resolutions, and I was thinking, what do I want from this year? And indeed, I don't want to act out of desperation and just like survival mode. I really want to just build my personal life very nice, and then the job, it's just gonna come along. It has to be like this. There's no other way.
True. Beautiful. Really nice. And is there something? So you did a lot with it, and you made New Year's resolutions. Were there some things? Just a curious question, what were the resolution a bit about?
So it was about it, because we discussed one of the sessions ago about we did the card game, and then we both understood that it's about that, I really value the professionalism in my career. And then I just started thinking about, like, what do I not want this year? And for instance, I really get more cautious into noticing red flags. That's one thing, but it's also then combines with therapy as well, because then I can focus on the emotional part. Another goal is, just to take it easy, I guess, this year, to focus on my leisure, like on the holidays, on more like finding new skills. For instance, I realized that I neglected that plan last year, like I didn't do it. And this year I kind of want to got back to it, and I want to learn something new. And then I was thinking about masters, actually. To combine it with let's say a new job and masters, and then just tell the company, hey, please support me, because I would like to still pursue this. You know? And what else? I wrote more of the goals are more like very personal, like very like silly, like more about like concerts, trips, you know, like very related to personal life. And then this time I just decided not to put too much of emphasis on the career part. I was just like, let it be for a while.
Because you did a lot.
I did a lot last year around it. I actually built the whole routine and everything. And I realized it's so tiresome.
Processes, how it worked, and you see everything through what you talked about, and how it works. So indeed, like, that's beautiful that you focus now on these parts, and I think indeed, like what you said, the other things will come.
And then the next thing is that what I really want to do is that I want to work on how to, let's say, because I noticed with me in jobs is that after a month I'm very excited, but then 6 months in the company I start noticing some things, and it affects me so bad that I cannot continue. So I want to work on the thing that maybe it's because now I realize that I have autism, right? How to sustain myself in the company, still be part of, like, fit in, let's say, fit in a company, And also how to not to burn out anymore. I don't want to come to a new job with like, I want to break a pattern, let's put it like this.
Yeah.
I want to break a pattern, and that's what I wrote, that I just want to like find the ways how to find the balance.
Yeah.
And not to freak out in case something bad happens, and just like, okay, it's just a hurdle, but let me still focus on what's in my personal life.
Yeah.
And what's at work, just leave it out. Separate two things basically.
So what happens when you were telling like there's happening sometimes, so when you start a job you get excited and everything, and in 6 months there's happening something. So what's the thing that happens?
Sometimes, yeah, like I get so the management starts to act out, and they start crossing the boundaries so many times, and then it comes very personal. Especially with the Dutch managers, is that I noticed that they really, if you don't like you, they don't like you, and they just start showing it more actively and kind of encouraging you to leave. And they push your limitations and boundaries as much as they can. Let's say in Huawei right now, well, it's a bit a different case. I guess it's just overall the amount of work I got, just in general, was so tiresome. And the fact that my boundaries were also like started be crossed out and nobody cared about them.
No. So to look back, what happened in that 6 months with you is that you noticed more how the company works, and then the management pushes you. And the other thing is
and then just the boundaries, that if I say no, they still say yes, and then they keep pushing till my limits, and then I get exhausted, I start panic, I start getting more anxious about it, and then it kind of leads then to the burnout symptoms.
Yeah.
That's something I don't want anymore.
Yeah. And the boundaries, because I can remember you talking the first time about you said no to your manager, that you're not gonna do this, and every time he gives you more work at around 6 o'clock when you're done with your work. And so for me, it seemed like you already you can make boundaries.
Yeah, I can. Basically, I can.
Yeah.
But they are always so cross that it's so tiresome to explain yourself over and over again. Because even if I state something, let's say I say no, I still give a solution when and how I can achieve certain tasks. Like, it's not always like I'm not gonna do it and that's it. It's never like this. It's always like I just need that the deadlines and all the projects can come on correct time.
Yeah.
Because my manager, indeed, he used to 5 minutes before 6. He starts to come in and gives me a task which he wants me to do now, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. 6 o'clock comes and I'm going home.
Yeah.
But then in his eyes, like, oh, she's not committed, she's not a team player, blah blah blah, and I don't like it,
No.
Like, I'm like, no. It's your responsibility to give me a task according time. So you had the whole day to talk to me, and then he remembers something 5 minutes before 6. That's very tiresome.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's tiresome because so maybe you say no, but you still feel the need that you need to do something.
Yeah, and then you of course go home and you start thinking about it, how you want to do it as fast as possible. Maybe come to work earlier. Maybe you start thinking around about it, the situation. It's just, and then of course it spirals.
Yeah, yeah. So is it about you putting? What do you think? What happens there for you? What is your observation of what happens there for you?
Well,
is it about you making the boundaries or you're setting the boundaries right and stay on them, or is it something else? What happens?
No, I think it just is. I still want to perform good. That's where it comes from.
Yeah. You
don't want to disappoint people. That's how I behave in all the jobs I've had. Is that I don't want to disappoint people.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to find the ways how to, let's say, find a compromise or when to deliver a certain thing.
Yeah.
And then of course I spend evenings sometimes just sitting and thinking what is the best to do. I write it even down, the plan, okay, what I do first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And even I'm outside work, and it's kind of frustrating because normally you just have to separate and that's it. And have your evenings for your own, but in this case it's never been happening.
Yeah.
I always come back and I start thinking, okay, what can I do?
Yeah. So it's interesting. So the first reaction you have is you put a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
So you put a boundary.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And then the overthinking part comes because you feel like you're gonna disappoint people.
Yeah.
Like overthinking. Has this playing a part with you in your life before? Do you recognize this from yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Even in general, yeah. It's not even the work related. Sometimes, indeed, like even when it comes to make plans, to meet people, put effort in socializing, but also sometimes comes we're like, what should I do? I don't want to put too much stress around it, but then I still don't want to cancel the plans or something. Sometimes it is happen.
Yeah.
But it's always it also comes from cultural things that we're taught not to. Like we always have to provide 100% of yourself to every single person.
Yeah.
Because of that disappointment, and then
Yeah. So. So how do you see yourself when you look at this? Like, what do you think of yourself when you disappoint people?
Well, then of course I feel very sad, and I feel like I failed. I failed them. I failed the people. I failed that they're gonna have a negative opinion about me as a friend or person or colleague or etc. And then you then realize that if you let's say you didn't do anything, stick to a promise, or I don't know, didn't make plans or something, that people disconnect from you and then you lose the connection.
Yeah. Okay, so that you lose the connection, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because I noticed if, let's say, when I moved to Netherlands and with people, is that if you don't say, we're gonna give you on Friday the final decision.
Okay.
Whether you're accepted or not accepted.
Okay.
But I felt I got accepted because the director said that's it, that's his last stage. So now I feel very betrayed, and I start thinking, where did I sign up for?
Yeah. And why? So what's the reason you want to send this mail, and what's the reason you don't want to send this mail?
So the reason I want to, and I'm gonna use profanity, I want to show my balls. I want them to show that I'm proactive and I still care about this role. Yeah. That I took initiative and I took a half day off from my work to come and really to tell them that I care. Yeah. And why I don't want to send an email is because from my typical behavior, normally I avoid confrontation. And for me, I find it a bit maybe too aggressive, and I'm scared that they're at the end gonna say, oh no, we're not gonna accept you because you're too aggressive, you know what I mean? Because there's people, I'm sorry to say, but they really don't like confrontations like that. So that's why I'm a bit scared that it could have a negative connotation for my future. Because let's say they can employ me, right? But then they're not gonna like me anymore because of what happened. So it's gonna be a negative beginning or a negative start of the company, and I don't want to. I want to bond with people. I don't want them to,
don't want to, So it comes back to the same thing like this. You're afraid of not having a good. You lose the connection. Yeah. But at the same time, you said to me you wanna break the pattern. Yeah. So what would you decide if you look at?
Well, I was thinking, and I spoke to a couple of people because I told them yesterday I called pretty edge every single friend of mine because I really need to let it out.
Yeah, that's good.
To ask what they think, and some of them start thinking that they think that there was some miscommunication going on. And second opinion we got that maybe it indeed was like a trick. Because they know that I'm expensive for them because I come from Huawei, blah blah blah. They want to maximize results with low costs. You know what I mean? That's a typical strategy. Yeah. And now they put me these hoops so that they could break me, and then I could accept the lowest offer. But it's not gonna be the case because I don't want to accept the low offer. I'm gonna show that if you want me to do a quality job and to also compensate for my work, then you have to pay.
Yeah.
You know, you cannot just expect the best things and just underpay people.
No.
And I'm not a student.
No.
So yeah, and I got suggestions to email Friday after I get the response, because then at least they know what they did.
Yeah.
That they feel them guilty.
Yeah.
Because if they like me so much, then they have to rethink about their values themselves, you know. And I kind of want to put the director in his spot as well. Then say
so you want to wait on Friday and then
email if I get the response yes or no, doesn't matter. Just to email the director and say, hey, I want to express my concerns about the conversation on Wednesday with HR director. I will just explain that I took that, as I mentioned, I will explain all the reasoning, and then he will at least know what he did, and maybe he can take accountability.
Yeah, but then on Friday you already heard the yes or no talk, right?
Yeah, hopefully. You never know these people. They say Friday becomes Monday, Tuesday, or another week, you know?
It's really weird because you have to deliver before a certain time and then...
Yeah, because I told them that I have 1 month notice period, and then this HR person, he was laughing. He said, "Oh, I don't believe in those notice periods. If you want to leave, you want to leave." I said, I understand your concern. However, in the Dutch law, all companies have exactly the same policy.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm really sorry, but I cannot do anything else.
2 months, yeah.
And I said that I want to still do a quality handover for my team because the projects I had, I still really like them.
This was also with the last conversation, like yesterday.
Yeah.
So before you didn't have this best thing, but it's only based on the conversation from yesterday.
Yeah,
right?
yesterday's conversation really threw me off.
Yeah.
Because I thought that I'm the only candidate and I'm gonna sign a contract and I'm gonna start to work with them.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanna send them an email to kind of tell them, hey, you kind of during the interview process and all the conversations I had, you kind of gave me an idea that I'm actually part of a team.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden this happens and it's kind of feels very betrayal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you want to treat your future employees like that, it brings negative connotation, and then the values you try to portray to me, they're not the same. Then I'm sorry, then you're lying to yourself. Then you know, so that's the reason.
Yeah,
because like I was frustrated. I was like, I felt, because then he asked me,
which is on its place, like.
Because
everyone would say
director,
it's logic that you're
because the director said that I want you to start as soon as possible, and he told me I understand you have a notice period, and then this guy says that the HR person says, oh yeah, well I don't actually care when anyone starts, I just want a good quality person. Fair, but still you have to understand that people regardless has to get a notice period.
Okay.
And then my dad actually told me yesterday, he's afraid that maybe it was a ghost application and they're not gonna employ anybody. Because I know the ghost applications, I've seen them, I know what they are. But then I told my dad, but would they do this for 3 months almost? Because I started talking to them the end of November.
A lot of time, and it's
so I'm like, is it then, what are they doing then, you know?
Yeah, I think this is the nice thing is to talk to people and to let your physician have the same thing. You get a lot of opinions and ideas about something nobody knows now, right?
It's so uncertain. It's just
so we can think about it, but it doesn't help us, right? About what was, and like you only had this bad last conversation, but up front it was good. So you felt the match, right? So. If you just skip this last conversation, you would still... What would you do if you just skip this last conversation? What of the two things you would do?
No, then I think if I wouldn't have yesterday's talk, then I would have proceeded with the company and I would feel like, okay, they want me and I want them, the feeling is mutual. Then I just wait for a contract, sign it, and then start working. You know?
But if there would be an email to be sent, what would you choose, yes or no?
No, then I won't send an email because there's no point.
No, there's no point, but maybe another email, like, then
No,
you
then
feel openness, right?
No, maybe, yeah, maybe then for the after third conversation, then of course I would send an email, thank you so much for opportunity, I'm looking forward to receive a contract or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Something, I always do that.
Yeah.
I always, after the conversation, always send an email. Just assure that they have a mutual feeling, and it normally happens. And this person enjoyed the conversation, blah, 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 and then, yeah. But now, yesterday's thing was waste of time. Like, I traveled for nothing. I kind of felt like, why did I do all of this, you know? Then my question is, what are they thinking, you know? Like, because he told me, other candidates already came to see me, so you were the last one.
But then
I realized he was lying because they all came back to work the week before. So I don't know when he had time to talk to other 3 people, and if actually they came to the office. Of course, I want to remain in the good faith. I want to like believe in him, but at the same time, it just doesn't match what the director said with this HR person.
No.
And I know the issue is that this HR person makes a decision to sign or not to sign. Director can objectify, of course, because it's his team, so he can also have a last word, but still, I have to get the contract from this old boomer person. He's like he was praising Amsterdam. He was